we all have those drivers, man, and it's like, it's there. You kind of don't. You wish it wasn't there, right? But it's a good and a bad, right? And without that driver, too, would you be where you are today?
It took me a long time to realize that is who shaped me. It took me a long time to not look at my past as a negative, to look at it as a positive.
Yeah,
If I wouldn't have went through those things, I wouldn't be the person who I am today. I wouldn't be the determined person. I wouldn't have the discipline that I have when it comes to alcohol. I wouldn't be the person that I am today with my son, or maybe, right? So it did take me a long time to stop trying to prove to somebody else something that I'm not, and just to live my own life for what is in front of me. Not to say that it doesn't rear its ugly head, and I don't celebrate my wins enough, and I'm always looking for the next thing, next
yeah,
thing. But yeah, no, it took me a long time, and it's always a work in progress too. I think that's something that people need to also know is like it never ends. It's always a constant reminder. It's great friendships like me and you have. It's the people you surround yourself, all the typical things that you hear, they're all true.
yeah.
But it's good to hear it from another voice as that reminder.
Yeah, man, and it's like you said, it's putting those people in your life too to give you that reminder too, and just like to be there because you're on the same page. Too. You and I were just with each other just before this podcast started, just about how we don't slow down enough, and we're like I need to I'm and it's hard for us to realize that too, just because we are such driven individuals that um, we want to keep going, and it's like you just said, it's hard to celebrate those wins, or you don't stop and celebrate those wins. It's not that it's hard, we just
Yeah.
don't stop
No, we
and
just
do it.
literally don't do it.
Yeah. Welcome to the Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Reiman, your broker builder, and today I got a very special guest on, good friend of mine. He's a husband, a father, family man, man of faith. He's become really good friend of mine too. We've gotten to know each other over the last few years, and spent a lot of time together, and been in a great group together, kind of growing our faith with Warriors for Christ, and excited to kind of get into his life a little bit and his background too. So, Jonathon Hagarbome, welcome to the Real Build. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, doing wonderful. I'm very grateful to be here, Bill. I did a little homework on you as well. I watched a few of your last episodes to see what I was getting myself into. So, super grateful to be here, man. I'm really grateful for our friendship. When we first met, and meeting your wife has been phenomenal. Whitney and Elizabeth have just been awesome, and getting to see you where you were when we first met to today, and now that you got your little guy at home, like, man, I've just loved to see your journey from this side. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, man, it's awesome to do it with you too, man. And it's like I remember when you and I first talked too, and we sat at, it was at an Arte Syndicate event, and we sat at the table next to each other and had dinner, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I lived in Naples." I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, and we talked then, and then it's just grown from there, and gotten to know each other, and hung out a bunch of times. Our wives became close friends along with you and myself. So, man, honored to have you on and kind of get into your life, your background, your story a little bit here, because you run a very successful company, and I want to talk about that too. But before we get started too, so let's talk about you a little bit, who you are, who is Jonathon, where you came up from, where those roots are. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, right now I'm in Northwest Indiana. Like, it's like 40 minutes outside of Chicago. I'm actually in my hometown where I grew up. Where I met you was actually when we were in Arte. I was living in Naples at the time. That was a small stint that Whitney and I still dream about going back to Naples. We love Naples. It was gorgeous. But grew up in a small town. It was a small town. Now it's much bigger. But I was raised by just my mom, actually. I got a brother and a sister. My brother's older. I have a younger sister. And then yeah, played sports growing up in school, and then it was either play sports and do school, or get a job and get a car. And I've loved cars my entire life, so I got a job and started working to get my first car. That's where I started my love for cars. Growing up in a small town, raised by just my mom, it was like work ethic. My mom just drilled that into me. Work ethic, work ethic. When I told my mom I wanted that first car, she said, "Well, you better get another job, right?" And I was kind of being the middle child. I was the one that was at home always fixing things. My brother was very brain smart. I was hand smart. So I always used my hands, and anytime something would happen at the house, I was the one to try to fix it. So I always loved working with my hands and getting dirty, and learn the work ethic from my mom. Honestly, I don't know how my mom did it. She was a saint, raising three kids, working. Brother went to school, went to college. My brother is very successful. My sister's very successful. I am on the path to my own success. What success means to me. So yeah, after that, I graduated high school and left Crown Point. I didn't come back to Crown Point until about 5 years ago. I actually met Whitney, who's my wife, in the seventh grade in Crown Point. We went to the middle school dance together. She went to a private school. I went to a public school, and we still hung out in high school and stuff. College, we kind of went our own separate ways. And I just finished school out in Arizona and came back to visit my mom before I was like getting into my career and stuff like that. And she just happened to stop by my mom's house. She was like, "Man, I wonder if he's still in town." And since that day, literally, it was random. I mean, it's not random. But yeah, we didn't spend a day apart after that. We went to dinner, and literally, I got her to, it's crazy. I got her to transfer colleges, to move in with me,
Wow.
move to another state, so I could go after my career and dream in Illinois. And she just jumped on. She jumped on, and yeah, we've been trying to kill it together ever since, man.
Go into the career and dream in Illinois a little bit. Talk about you being in the auto industry. I know your background, but for the audience too, how you basically kind of climbed your way up in that to
Yeah.
out of high school and really not. I don't think you really had a college background or anything, right? You just
No, my brother went to IU Bloomington. He, like I say, he was very brain smart, and just a great guy. My brother was. He was a very good example for me. So I owe a lot to my brother too. He's a very good example, and he always kept me in line, made sure I wasn't doing anything. I was a second child, wild child, so he always put me in check. Uh, so he was a great influence. But when I graduated high school, I just college wasn't for me. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I just loved cars. In high school, I worked in a body shop. I painted my first car when I was like 15 years old. I learned the body work. I could make cars look pretty, but I didn't know how they actually worked. So when I graduated school, I'm like, well, shoot, why don't I just go to like a basic mechanic school, learn how to work on cars, and then I'll decide what I want to do, if I want to go to college, start somewhere else. So I went to a basic tech school. While I was there, I learned that you can get signed on by manufacturing companies. Like while you're there, they have different programs with, whether it's Ford, Volkswagen, Audi, whatever they were. And I was obsessed with Audi cars, so I got into the Audi program. Went out to Arizona to the Audi program, and it was right around the time, it was 2004, 2005 when Audi bought Bentley. So then I learned that if I learned how to work on Audis, I can then work on Bentleys. Uh, and because Bentley went through this massive technology change, all of the Bentley dealers had a bunch of uh, old school mechanics. And I say that not in like an age thing. It was Bentleys were very old school. They were very mechanical. They did not have computer systems. They did not have like up-to-date cars for a very long time. It's what made them go bankrupt, in my opinion, why they needed to be bought out. So it was almost a perfect timing, like just the path that I was supposed to be on. And I've never wanted to settle. Like I was like, if I'm gonna go into cars, like I'm gonna go to the top. Like what
Mm.
better car manufacturer to go to than Bentley and Rolls-Royce, right? Rolls-Royce came a little bit later after the Bentley, but I always wanted to achieve. So I was in school. Tech school was kind of rough. There was all types of kids from all types of backgrounds. It was my experience, but I sat in the front row. I took notes. I stayed after class. I wanted to learn it. I knew there was an opportunity there, and I just wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the best at what I did. Uh, I then got it signed on by Bentley. So Bentley signed on. They paid my school, and I became a Bentley mechanic for a dealership on the north side of Chicago. I was there 10 years, got my master's certification. I had to go to England and take the test in front of all the engineers at the Bentley factory. And once I became Bentley certified, then we were also a Rolls-Royce dealership. So then I wanted my master's cert in Rolls-Royce. So it took me 10 years to get my Bentley master certification, and I got my Rolls-Royce certification 12 years
Wow,
in business. Yeah.
that's awesome, man. Let's go into this a little bit too, because you said you've always wanted to achieve, you've always wanted to be the best. Where did that come from, do you think? Where did that mindset come
Oh
from?
man. You know, that goes to a comment from my father before he left. He one day he walked in our living room. He came home from the bar, starts yelling at my mom, and I was always in the middle of them. Like my brother had his license, he would leave. My sister was too young. She would go upstairs, start crying. So I felt, you also perceive things uh, as you remember them as a child, right?
Hmm.
So some of the things, this is a little bit of a side thing, but like as I've gotten older and more mature, I've really tried to break down what really happened, because sometimes we tell ourselves stories of the past that is how we remember them, and it's how we affected them, and it's how it affects us. I'm 38 years old, how it affects us 38 years later, right? So I through counseling and therapy and talking to other people, having great conversations with other people, I've tried to break down what really happens in a time of stress, and that fight or flight when things are really bad, and you remember certain points of a story, not the entire story. But so I've really been trying to work on that. But what it was is he literally would point his finger in my face all the time and say, "You are not the man of the house. You will never be the man of the house." Uh, to this day, that is stuck to me. I'm still trying to get that out of my head. So to this day, I work my ass off. I work because I want to be the man of the house. I wanted to have kids. I've always wanted to have kids. Since I can remember, I wanted to have kids because I wanted to be the father to my kids that I never had. I wanted to be there. I am there all the time for them. I try my very hardest to be with them as much as I can. Um, and I also saw how hard my mom struggled to pay the bills. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I did not want to live paycheck to paycheck. I did not want to know where the next meal was going to come. To this day, Whitney, my wife, does not like that I cannot stand leftovers, because I cannot eat leftovers. I ate leftover. We ate spaghetti like 5 days a week. It was the cheapest thing. So she's like, "What do you mean we can't reheat this?" I'm like, "Throw it away. I'm not eating it." So a lot of it comes from my past, seeing the struggle that my mom went through, some of the things that I was told as a kid, really drove me to work hard and work for what you want to get out of life.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that question too, because we all have those drivers, man, and it's like, it's there. You kind of don't. You wish it wasn't there, right? But it's a good and a bad, right? And without that driver too, would you be where you are today, right? And those are the questions we ask ourselves too. I have my drivers. It comes from the past, and it's a lot of it sucks, but it's in a way it's kind of molded you into being that great father, being that great husband that you are. And I see it personally. I know you personally, so I know how good of a
Thank
man you are. You're like one of the best people I've met. You just randomly check in on me and be like, "Hey man, you all good? Like life good?" We talk bulldog talk. You and I are, we're both bulldog dads, and
Yeah.
it's just, you're just such a good dude, man. So, whatever the past was with you too, I want you to remember too that you aren't that person that your dad was. You are that better
Yeah.
man. So, I
Thank you.
100% see it, and so does
Yeah, it
Liz.
took me, I really appreciate that, Bill, because it took me a long time to realize that is who shaped me. It took me a long time to not look at my past as a negative, to look at it as a positive.
Yeah,
If I wouldn't have went through those things, I wouldn't be the person who I am today. I wouldn't be the determined person. I would not. I wouldn't have the discipline that I have when it comes to alcohol. I wouldn't be the person that I am today with my son. Or maybe right. So it did take me a long time to stop trying to prove to somebody else something that I'm not, and just to live my own life for what is in front of me. Not to say that it doesn't rear its ugly head, and I don't celebrate my wins enough, and I'm always looking for the next
yeah,
thing,
I'm
thing.
guilty of
Uh,
that.
it is, yeah, that's a struggle. But yeah, no, it took me a long time, and it's always a work in progress too. I think that's something that people need to also know, is like it never ends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always a constant reminder. It's great friendships like me and you have. It's the people you surround yourself, all the typical things that you hear, they're all true.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear it from another voice as that reminder.
Yeah, man, and it's like you said, it's putting those people in your life too to give you that reminder too, and just like to be there because you're on the same page. So you and I were just with each other just before this podcast started, just about how we don't slow down enough, and we're like I need to, like, and it's hard for us to realize that too, just because we are such driven individuals that um we want to keep going, and it's like you just said, it's hard to celebrate those wins, or you don't stop and celebrate those wins. It's not that it's hard, we just
Yeah.
don't stop
No, we
and
just
do it.
literally don't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I'm so guilty of that, man. And it's like, and even thinking about it now, I just closed on a real estate sale that I just had, and like I'm not even like celebrating, like, just because I'm like, let's go, what's
Yeah.
next? And that just popped in my head too. I'm like, whoa, I just had a closing today, and I'm
Well,
not. Yeah,
congrats.
thanks, man. Let's
I'll cheers
celebrate
to that.
together. But wow, all right. Yeah, it's like you don't really, yeah, we're both guilty of that. And that's just who we are and who we've been molded to be. I mean, it can change, and like I was talking with Liz about it too. Maybe we say it's who we are, but maybe it isn't. I'm kind of going on a tangent here with like what I've talked to her about, because her and I were in a deep
Yeah.
discussion before this, but
Well,
it's
it's also
made,
what you're being influenced in at the time, right? So, being an Arte Syndicate, right?
yeah,
It's very easy to go to an Arte Syndicate event, one of these events where they got the lights, they got the music pounding, you got everybody pumping their fists, jacked, ready to go. I mean, to get in that, the energy is contagious, right? I mean, you catch it, right? It's like there's something in the air. So you see all these people, if you're on social media, they're killing it. What I gotta kill, we gotta keep going, keep going, keep going. And then you listen to people that are very successful in our eyes, and
Mhm.
it's like, you can't stop. You got to work. It's gonna
Mhm.
suck. It's gonna hurt. You can't stop. Don't stop. Can't stop. I've never stopped in 20 years. If you stop, you suck. And it's like, and then 5 years later, the same person is on line saying you need to have a break.
Yeah.
You need to have a break. Like, my doctors told me I need to have a break, or my wife told me I need to have a break. I'm about to have a mental breakdown. My kids ask me where I've been. Whatever the reasoning, all influencers are go, 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 go. And then they go through these cycles, this ebb and flow of, okay, well, no, a break is good, right?
Mhm.
So it's very, what are you listening to? What are you putting in your brain? Who are you talking to? What are you consuming? Right?
Yeah.
Is so important. And what you consume should change, right? What drives you today is not gonna what drives you in a year. What drives you right now is should be different than what drove you 2 years ago, because now you have Will at home.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to say, I don't want this meeting right now because I haven't seen my son in 2 days because I've been grinding on this house.
Mhm.
Literally, this house has been taking up all my time. I might have this opportunity, you're right, but right now I'm feeling a little guilty. I need to go home and hold my baby. Like,
Yep.
that is okay. And so many people don't see that and do that depending on where they're hearing information from, you know.
Yeah. And there's a lot of high level entrepreneurs that listen to this, and I think this is actually a really good topic too, just because, like you said, you can change and shift and take a little break, take a little time to shut things down, or just go back to doing something that like makes you operate at a high level too. Because when things, that's with like me too. I'm like, what is going on? I've been in a mental funk. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm just like, what is going on? Why? What's different? And I start questioning. I went on a walk by myself. I started asking myself, like, what is different? I'm praying. I'm like, my body's aching. I'm like, why is my body aching? Probably because of stress. So I'm like, what am I doing different to cause all this? And so I started reflecting back, like what it used to really work for me is just like meditation, taking that time for myself to kind of shut off my brain. Like that was a huge stress reliever for me too. Going to the gym. I put a gym in my garage, but I used to actually like physically going to the
Same.
gym, and putting that garage gym in maybe wasn't the best decision I ever made. I thought it was going to be great with the baby, which it has been because I'm always here. But it's like as a man, or even a woman, we need that escape some way, somehow, just for that 1 hour. And like I started reflecting on that. I'm like, man, what else am I not doing as much? Oh, reading as much. Like, I've kind of put that to the side just because of, spending more time with Liz when I get home from work, stuff like that. And she would go to bed earlier than me, but now I'm going to bed earlier with her. That's like instead of reading. So it's like you start as entrepreneurs too, if you start going back, what I'm getting at, and kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't work, that's where you can kind of probably start to resolve those problems that you're having too. And that goes for all of us.
Oh my God. Like, the amount of times I have almost had literally a mental breakdown in the last 6 years. I've been in fight or flight mode, I feel like, for the last 6 years. I mean, no joke. There have been some amazing times. There have been some really horrible, dark times. Um, Sometimes that I come to the office and I'll stare at a computer for an hour and be like, why am I even here? What am I even doing?
Mhm.
What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I think that was something else. Like, so after I left Bentley and Rolls to start my own business, I, I it I started this business and then started dealing with companies that were really large companies. I mean, some of them were corporations that were our customers, and dealing with these customers, I soon was sitting at tables with in my opinion, very successful people. And we were trying to solve issues that I was going in there with the expectation that they knew everything, that they knew what they were doing, that they were going to have the solution to the problem already. And literally, you go to these tables, and top CEOs don't know what the hell they're doing.
Mm.
Like, these companies that are running, that are very, very successful, just like everybody else, has the same issues, no matter how many employees you have, no matter how much revenue you're making, no matter how much net profit, it doesn't matter. The issues are real across the board. The difference is solving the issue and or finding a solution, right? And that's a huge difference from being successful and or stopping and going back, right? So I've always been on that pursuit to try to find solutions for people, and I've always been that way. Whether it's my business here or my own family, uh, like I don't like tension. I don't like arguments. I don't know. I should have been like a hippie in my, maybe I was a hippie in my past life. I like peace. I like when my family is together and everybody's happy, as hard as that is in family dynamics. Uh, I just, I like peace. I don't know if, because maybe as an entrepreneur, your life is so stressful all the time. So when I go home, I like to be surrounded by peace and calmness, because it's chaos every day.
I want to get into the chaos every day, but I also want to reflect on what you said there too, as far as peace. I'm the same exact way. Like that's like I got a candle back here that gives me peace. I mean, when I read, I like to light the candle. I smell it. It smells like a spa smell, and it gives me peace. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like those little things, whatever you can do as an entrepreneur to kind of bring yourself to that peace of mind, and and you said you like to solve problems too, and you've always been that way. And I think that's the entrepreneur in you. I mean, we're problem solvers. Sometimes we're too fast to solve problems instead of sitting and listening to our wives. We kind of are just like, all right, let's get it done. I want to, I don't want to fight anymore. What's going to solve it? And, they want to be listened to a little bit. We have those flaws as entrepreneurs, but it's it's a gift too to be able to be that problem solver too. And I've talked about this recently too, is I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs too, and you might feel this way, is we solve so many other people's problems that we never really focus on our own ourselves, right? And we have all these inner things that happen with us and stuff, but we're always worried about everything else because, we're running businesses. We want our employees to be happy. We want our clients to be happy. We want uh just even the mail guy coming in to be happy, the water guy to be, whoever we got coming into that office, we want them to be happy. We talk to them, and and we come home and then we got our kids and our wives and stuff like that, and we're trying to make everybody, and we carry this weight as entrepreneurs, and then it's like we just have all this that what about us? And I think a lot of guys and girls feel that way in business, but it's a role we kind of signed up for in a way, I want to say. But it's like, how do we resolve those issues? How do we get that out? And I think a good way is like you and I having conversations with each other, meeting those like-minded people that resonate with you. Having a group like Warriors for Christ, where it's a
Oh,
bunch of guys in there working on their faith, working in the same walk as us, and having those people to talk to and let those problems out too is huge. So I just wanted to drop that in there too, because it's so crucial.
yeah,
Because
I think it's important too as an entrepreneur. Like, I've been really on that peace side. I want to talk on that. Like, I 100% agree with you. Like, my wife bought me this little circle thing on Instagram. She's like, "Oh my God, this was much bigger on the video, right? But it was like this little ball that spins and it like looks like water is running down this ball, right?" I'm obsessed with water. The ocean is my peace. Like, lake, being on, like, my dream is to own a place in Naples on the on the beach or somewhere with water, even if it's a lake, whatever. That's my peace. I don't know what it is. Like, just standing there looking at the water, that is like zen to me.
Just hearing it
Um,
too.
yeah, man, it's unbelievable to me. But I also there's like we do like I play therapist all the time. My office door is always open. If it's not open, it's because I'm like doing stuff like this or I have a important meeting and they know like if my door's closed, please don't knock. But my door is always open. I don't care if you're a salesperson, if you are a production person, if you're driving a truck for us, uh, I don't care who you are, if it's day one or year 25, because we have 25-year veterans here at this company. I will do anything for you, and my door is open. We can have a talk. So the amount of people that have been in this office, literally where I'm sitting, crying about life, to spouses, to kids, to family members being sick, to drug addiction, to alcoholism, to you name it, we have talked about it. And that weight is real as an entrepreneur. That weight is real that you also need to release. So I'm going to share a story real quick. I hope you don't mind.
No.
Because sometimes as an entrepreneur, we have to put this face on that everything's perfect. You see it on Instagram, the perfect life. And I just Whitney and I we built our own house. Okay, the house that we live in, we literally built our own house. We designed it. We wanted to build it. Every house we've owned, I've gutted and redid myself, and that's kind of how we made a little bit of money. Because I'm just a hands-on guy.
When he
And
says he's hands on, he's truly hands on. He built the whole damn house.
yeah, yeah, I did. It took me 2 years, but I did. I always wanted to build my own
Which is
house
awesome. Yeah.
so I could like I want my son to be like my dad built this farm. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just had this
I'm
vision.
a builder and I'm impressed, man. So
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
you
thank you.
got me. I'm like, wow,
No.
I still got
Yeah.
to see it, but
Yeah.
it's impressive.
You'll come out. So I had a HVAC company come in and do it. There was some stuff I didn't do. Like I didn't run the trunk and the AC stuff, right? Um, and I have an indoor pool in my house that had a separate HVAC system. They were telling me I needed this crazy system. I had another company back and forth, all this stuff. It's going to be like 100 grand for this HVAC system in this pool. I said, this is ridiculous. I have garage doors on the sides that open up to the outside. It sounds extravagant. It's not. It's pretty. It was actually part of the original old farmhouse that we like redid. So, anyways, I had the company come out because they put the HVAC system in a closet, in like a utility closet with the pump room, with no fresh air return. So it's not sucking any air from the actual room that it's heating, right? So I called them and I said, hey, like, there's no return vent. And so I said, can you have a tech come out and like explain to me how this works? Because when the doors are closed, it's not sucking from it. Like the vacuum is massive. So they sent a tech out and he was there 10 minutes and said, oh, well, there's no fresh air duct. The owner of the company said that you told them it would be fine. Okay. So they sent me an invoice for like $150 for their tech to come out and tell me that it was okay. I'm like, this is crazy, right? And I didn't pay this invoice, not because I'm like, screw this guy, I'm not paying it. Like I had all intentions of paying it. Literally, it's one of these stupid things. You know how busy you get? It was like, we don't accept credit card over the phone. Like that's what they told me. So like, you got to send in a check. I literally don't have a checkbook. Like, do you write checks anymore? I don't write personal checks. Who writes checks? So I didn't write checks. And anyways, I don't want the story to go on too long, but the owner calls me and says, or first the office lady calls me and says, Jonathan, you owe us 150, whatever. And I said, okay. I said, well, your tech came out here. He did this. Well, you owe us the money. I said, I understand that. I said, but like, there's an issue with the thing. I said, let me talk to the owner because the owner and I were, I built this beautiful house. We were like acquaintances, not friends. And like, I did a lot of business with this guy. And things got very heated because I said, this is crap. Like, how can you put that in? Jonathan, you told us it would be fine. I said, I have two dehumidifiers. I did tell you the system would be fine if it was hooked up properly. This is ridiculous. Jonathan, it's $150. I'm sending it to collections. I said, whoa, that's not what we're doing. So finally, I got very pissed off. Like, all that weight that's been on my shoulders,
Yeah.
not the weight of this stupid heater in my pool house. Like that was not what tipped me off. It was all the other baggage. This guy was just on the other line, and he got the wrath of the 6 months of bullshit that I've been dealing with. And he said, I will never do business with you again. Never call my office. If you call the office, blah, 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 and hung up the phone. And I think something that I have learned is like about my own self is like my image is very important to me when it comes to like how I represent myself. And I was very disappointed with myself. I still agree that they didn't do it right. That's besides the point. As soon as we hung up, I went down, got my credit card. I went online because they couldn't accept it over the phone, but they could do it through email, whatever the case. So after about an hour, I called back the office lady and I said, excuse me, can I talk to the so-and-so? I said, look, I just want to apologize. Like, that is not who I want to be. You're a business owner. I got a lot on my shoulders. We do business in the same town. I don't want my image. I don't want my name. I don't want people to think of me in a negative way if we're passing each other on the street. I don't like those vibes. I don't want those type of vibes in my life. I don't want to see a truck with your guys' name on it and get that icky feeling. You know what I mean? I said, I apologize sincerely. I've already paid the invoice. I hope you can accept my apology. I just do not want to be seen in that way, right? And I think that's very important because a lot of people, if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're not, don't have that stress level, if you don't, they don't understand. And or they don't give you the grace sometimes that you need because you're the one that's supposed to have all the answers. You're the one that's supposed to take all the weight. You're the one that's supposed to solve everybody's issues and go home and they see you have a nice truck. They see you have a nice house. You have a beautiful wife. You got beautiful kids. They go to good schools and your life is perfect, right? So now let me tell you something. My life is pretty damn perfect. Those things, what other people see as very successful things are very true. And I'm very blessed to have all of those things. But that does not mean that I'm not worried every single day that all of my employees have a good meal, that all of my employees are getting a check every day, the financial stress of a business when the economy, all of the things as an entrepreneur that you know, right? So I share that story because I think it's very important to admit your faults even when you got to swallow your own pride. When you try to be so perfect all the time to your family, to your business, to your employees, to your kids, as a coach, as whatever, you're going to mess up. You're going to mess up. You're going to screw up. And with social media and everything else, like it's so easy. Like we focus on the negative all the time. You could do a million things right, but you do that one thing that screws up, and you're the first one to be blasted. You're the first one to get shout out. I mean, it's terrible what we focus on as a society. So I think it's okay to give yourself grace and to admit when you screw up and take action on it. Don't just let it linger inside you. And I've noticed that those releases, me letting them go, I still feel shitty about it.
Yeah.
Like literally, I still feel shitty about how I talked to this dude on the phone. Like that is not me. That is not how I represent. I mean, obviously it was me in that moment. I do have a temper. I do, I have all those things. But I hate that it came out. I hate that that's a vision that I painted for this guy on the other phone that doesn't know all of the things that I do. You know what I mean? So being able to call him as a man to say I'm sorry took me a long time because I had a hard head for a long time to swallow my pride. So don't be afraid to do that.
I can relate to you, man. Unfortunately, I can relate to you on that one too. I've had the same thing happen. I've had it happen with a past client too, where It was a lot of it was like a lot of the built up stuff was there, wrong place, wrong time of him calling me, um, pointing the finger on stuff that really wasn't a big deal, but basically saying that because of that stuff, we're just not a good builder. Um, had to do with a seawall too, which he hired the seawall guy, and it wasn't even me. He
Right.
was blaming me for the seawall too, and I erupted on it, and the situation, like as soon as I hung up on him too, like I started thinking on it, and I'm like, why did I do that? You know, like
That's horrible.
why that voice in my head is like, you you need to apologize, call him back, and I did. He probably still doesn't like me, but I still, but getting going into what you said though too, man, it does take a lot for it shows who you are as a person to do that, to go back and apologize, because there's not a lot of guys that would. I mean, I hope to say there's a lot of guys that would, but
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people would backtrack on it and be like, man, that was the wrong move. But that shows you who you are as a business person, as a man in general, too, right? And I can relate with you because having that voice in your head telling you that it wasn't the right move, I think doing that, even just making that apology, making things good too, is going to benefit you as far as your business, your success, and so on too, because it just shows who you are as a person. And I wanted to talk about too, like what you do too, because we didn't even, well, you and I have been going into some great stuff here too. Um, Talk about innovative energy a little bit, what the company does, just so people know that background of
Yeah.
Jonathon. And then I got some questions for you too. You know,
Yeah.
one of them has to do with the school bus. So let's keep
Oh
going here.
yeah. Yeah, so innovative energy is what Whitney and I own now. It is a manufacturing company. We tell everybody we make shiny bubble wrap, like that's our go-to saying. We are a plastic extruding manufacturer, so we extrude our own bubble wrap, and we do lamination. So
Oh,
we have two divisions in the company. We have a commercial residential insulation side that does like the vapor barrier, metallized bubble for pole barns, post frame, in concrete insulation for like radiant floor heating. And then we also have a packaging division, which is a whole separate division that we make envelopes, box liners, cold chain shipping. So chocolate companies, pharmaceutical companies, the meal prep companies that are sending the meals in the mail that need to keep them fresh for delivery. We make the shiny bubble wrap that goes inside those boxes to make sure that the product shows up correct. Yeah,
first form products too. Shout
yeah,
out.
yeah. Yeah, the
That's where
protein bars. Yeah,
that's
the
where I
protein
first
bars come
got one
in.
of your products right there too.
Yeah,
So shout out to them
yeah,
too. I mean, what you're doing is awesome too. So how did you how did you get into that too? Obviously, I know the background of the story a little bit, just for the audience, of how you got
yeah.
from being in the top of the auto world to going into this, you know, and going into
Yeah.
the innovative energy and doing that company.
I'll give you the shortened version. I know we're already far into this, and I don't want to take up too much time because I talk too much. That's one of my
No,
problems.
you're good, man. I love it. We could always do part two too.
Yeah, right,
I'll
right.
have you on continuous time, so we're good.
uh, so working at Bentley and Rolls, we were in Naples at the time. I went down there for a job that I was going to be the foreman of the entire Bentley Rolls shop. Opportunity was looked after I moved my entire family there. The opportunity went a different direction. Again, I don't settle. Like I went there for this opportunity. You didn't give me the opportunity. I didn't move my family clear across the country to be a mechanic for Bentley and Rolls-Royce. I'm sorry, I wanted to move up the ladder. I wanted more than that. After I got my master's certification in Bentley and Rolls, like I got back to the dealership and it was like, you know, it's amazing the goals that you set for yourself and then you achieve them and you get there and you got this piece of paper and I'm like, dude, I just traveled the world. I've been working on this for 10 years. I get back to the dealership and everything is the same.
Mm,
I didn't get a thank you from the dealership. I didn't get a congratulations.
wow.
I nothing changed. And I'm like, I have been striving for this forever. So I'm down there, and it didn't plan out how it was. And they're good people. Nothing against them. The shop foreman that was there longer than I was. He's a great dude, and yeah, I tip my hat to him. And all good things just didn't work out as I wanted it to, right? Um, and that's when Whitney started planting the seed. Like, you need to start your own business. You need to start your own business. I don't care what it is. I know you'll be successful. Working in Bentley and Rolls, I had amazing customers. I had a lot of them that wanted me to go into business with them. They tried pulling me away. Like, I had one gentleman that owned a ton of commercial real estate. He owns like Dick's Sporting Goods. That was like his main thing, like all these Dick's Sporting Goods. And this became one of my very good customers for a long time. And he was like, Jonathan, you got to come with me. I could see it in you. You will be successful. I'll teach you everything. No, it's jumping ship, right? It's very hard to take that leap. So sitting in Naples, I fell in love with coffee. I love coffee. So my dream was to start a coffee company. So I really quit Bentley and Rolls to start a coffee company. And I did. I started a coffee company. It was called Cafe Racer Coffees. It was all around cars and coffee, two things that I love. And how that came about was in the Rolls-Royce and Bentley factory during the middle of the day, something that we don't do here in America in a manufacturing facility. Middle of the day, a bell goes off, the entire factory shuts down. I don't care what you're doing, the line stops, and a little English lady comes out with a coffee and tea cart, and it's tea time. Literally, it's tea time. Wow. So all of the mechanics, the seamstress in the Bentley factory, the woodworkers, everybody comes to the center aisle, grabs a saucer, because they still use saucers, and a cup, and they get tea or coffee. And it's a 15-minute, how are your kids? How are things doing? Is everybody okay? And they take a break for a minute over a cup of coffee. And I've had amazing conversations over a cup of coffee. One single cup can bring together so many people. And I saw it when that bell rang, right? So I'm like, man, this cup is amazing. And I love fast car, like exotics in cars. So I'm like, let's do the coffee thing. We'll do car shows. I know a lot of people in the car industry. Let's do that. So we quit. I quit Bentley and Rolls. We moved back to Indiana, to the farmhouse that my wife grew up in. It's a 100-year-old farmhouse. We move in with her 80-year-old father, which she was adopted by her grandpa. So it's actually her grandpa, but he adopted her. So we move in. He's 80 years old. I have 2 kids. I've lived on my own since I was 18 years old. And we are sleeping, my wife and I, in the bedroom that my wife grew up in. Oh, wow. And my kids are in the next bedroom next to us, right? And the idea is that we were going to build a house for her grandpa, that he could stay on the farm. We could help take care of him, because it was becoming a little much for him, while I started this coffee company. I did. I got a roaster. I started roasting coffee. We started the brand thing. And then, I gave up everything. I gave up my career and insurance, right? Insurance is like a killer in today's world. And I'm like, where am I going to get insurance? My daughter got very sick, and I'm like, holy crap. It scared me literally half to death. I was so scared, because I'm like, as the provider of my family, like, I felt selfish almost, because like I quit my career, everything that I worked for 15 years, health insurance, making good money. We had a beautiful house. We lived in it. We had all of it. We had, on paper, in everybody else's eyes, everything was good, right? I told my mom what I want to do. She's like, you're an idiot. Like, my mom's a protector, right? That's what she did her whole life. Like, you're an idiot. Why would you quit something? Like, you've worked this hard, all this stuff. And I'm like, man, there's more for me. There's more for my family and all that. And then that regret sinks in, that doubt sinks in. Like, what are you doing? You gave up that for selling a $4 coffee bag? Like, do you know how many coffee bags you have to sell to make the money that you were making? Like, what are you doing? And now you don't have insurance. So my family's very involved in the school district here. My sister's a teacher. Her husband was a principal. Now he's in admin. So they needed school bus drivers. So you mentioned the school bus. I say, how can I hustle coffee during the day or how can I still have time to build a company and get health insurance and work part-time? I legit looked at Starbucks. I looked at any part-time job that would offer health insurance. And I'm like, well, shoot, I could drive a school bus in the morning, hustle coffee during the day, drive a school bus at nighttime, drop the kids off at school, and still run this coffee business and get full health care. Genius. So I literally went to the school bus yard. I did the training, got my license, did the whole CDL training thing for the school bus side of things, and I was driving a school bus. So I was driving a school bus, hustling coffee, and then I'm like, and you get summers off, so then I could really push my coffee company in the summertime, go to car shows, all that stuff. And then her grandfather called me and said, "Hey, I know you're starting this coffee company," and mind you, her grandfather is a serial entrepreneur. I mean, like, very smart businessman. I looked up to him. I respected the heck out of him. Very, very wise man. He's had patents and he's got ideas all the time. He's an innovator. I mean, he was just a cool guy. And I met him when I was 13 years old, right? It's like wild. Like the first day he dropped Whitney off at my house was when I was 13 years old in middle school, right? Like crazy, and how God works, to be honest. He says, there's this opportunity to buy one of my competitors. They went up. We're not buying them. It's like buying their inventory and customer list, basically. And I got the phone call. Do you want to buy the customers and the customer list? The business is there, but something happened, blah, blah, blah. You're flying to Texas. Okay, I don't know anything about anything. I fly to Texas on a Wednesday. I have till Friday to tell them if I want the business or not. Well, Whitney and I just sold our home in Florida, so we had money in the bank, and we knew that we wanted to do something. We didn't know what, but we did want to own a business, and we wanted to have employees and give back. Like, that was our number one goal: have employees, build a culture, and give back to the community that we live in. Like, that was very important to us. So I said, let's go. So I went on Wednesday. I flew out to Texas, saw the business Wednesday, flew home Thursday, and Friday I had to make a decision. I came back. His name was Bob. And I said, Bob, I don't think it's a good idea. What are you talking about? He's like, you're an idiot. You're buying the business. I said, no, it was like silicone construction sealant business, like custom labeling for supply houses. There was this foam insulation. And then the reflective insulation side was more HVAC, wrap and ductwork, something a little bit different than what he did, right? So he's like, I'll be one of your customers. You'll be one of my customers. I'll help. I'll be your mentor. The businesses will be set. He was very old school. The businesses will be separate. You won't step foot in my business. I won't step foot in your business unless you ask a question. I'll help you on the outside, but they'll be separate. Nobody in the family really worked for her grandpa. Whitney never stepped foot in the business, any of that. So I said, screw it. I put my faith in him because I trusted him. He's one of the very few men in my life that I actually trusted and looked up to. And we went all in. I said, okay, fine. I wrote a check on Friday. I found a realtor to find me a 10,000 square foot warehouse on a Sunday. I signed the paperwork Sunday. The truck showed up Tuesday with inventory and machines. Wow. I legit did not even know how to plug the machine into the wall. Like, I had no clue what it was. I didn't know about silicones. I didn't know about sealants. I didn't know about counting. I didn't know business. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I found a employee that used to work in Texas, because I called them and said, hey, who knows anything about this stuff? Like, anything. I don't care who to. Oh, well, the office lady has all the paperwork. I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to the office lady. I want to talk to somebody that like ran it, like that knows what they're doing. Well, there was this girl in the warehouse that kind of ran everything. I was like, can I get this girl's number? Like, clearly she doesn't have a job anymore because you guys put locks on the door. So I did. I called this girl. She has never, I met her there. All I said was, hello, nice to meet you. What's your name? Like, I was kind to her when I was there. And she said, oh, actually, there was a lot of people that came through and you were the only one that acknowledged me. I said, really? She said, you are the only business person that has ever walked through our production facility that acknowledged me and had a conversation with me. I said, well, I said, let me tell you what I have in mind. Have you ever been to Indiana? Texas to Indiana. So I told her, I said, I just need your help. Like, can you come up here for 2 weeks? I'll put you in a hotel. I'll pay you to help me plug the machines in and get the business going. Uh, and she was awesome. She was an amazing person. She came here for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I was like, she can't go home. Like, I need her to run this with me. It was literally me and her loading trucks, calling customers, filling POs. We had back POs for like a year, right? And it was me and her. That was it. So I talked her into moving to Indiana. She was a young girl that never, when she flew here, it was her first time ever on a plane. She never left Texas, like ever. So it was a big eye opener for her. It was an opportunity for her to grow, to learn, to see other things. And it just worked out. It was unbelievable. And she became my plant manager for 5 years. She recently left here because she too, like myself, is a massive family person, and her sister was having babies, and she missed her mom. And I said, "Look, your heart is in Texas. You've grown, you've learned. Like that's one thing I tell all my employees. Like, I don't ever want to hold somebody back. Like, if I can teach you something and you can take it to the next level, like let me guide you, let me push you into that direction, let me give you some tools to succeed. I hope it's with me. I hope you want to stick with me. I hope you're here, but I will invest time and money into you because the return is always there, whether it's even here in the business or at home with their spouse, at home with their kid, with a family member, the return will be there. Somebody else will be reciprocating of it. Even if it's not me, it's okay. We'll be okay. That's what I always say. So yeah, that's how I got into this business. So after running the business for like a month, we were killing it. Like our numbers were good and all that. And our grandpa was like, "What are you doing over there?" Bob was like, "What is going on? Like, you got to come over." And I said, "No, I don't. You told me no. Like, you legit told me stay out of your business, right?" And we joked about it for a little bit. And then finally he's like, "No, I need you to come over and look at something. Like, legitimately, can you come over and look at something?" So that got my foot in the door for her grandpa. And he said, I think you'd be amazing here. How about you become general manager and we'll merge the companies? And I said, "No, I didn't quit my job at Bentley and Rolls-Royce, try to start a coffee company, try to start this business to become general manager of an insulation company. Like that's not where the dream is. The dream is to own my own business, to be the guy, to have my own asset. That's what I wanted. I've always wanted that. And I said, if there's option to buy you out, that's a different story. And honestly, he was super grateful. I think we had a fantastic relationship. I looked at him when I married Whitney as a father. I mean, he was just an amazing dude, So I learned so much from that guy. I'm getting emotional just thinking about him. He was great, man. Jeez. And so I said, if I could buy you out, and he was like, "Man, I would love to keep it in the family." Like he had it for sale already, like unbeknownst to many people. He was trying to find a buyer. He literally picked up the phone and was like, "It's not for sale. My son-in-law is going to buy the company." So we merged the companies. I I literally had a small desk in the corner of his office. He had like the big mahogany desk and the matching cabinets behind him. And I literally had a card table in the corner of his office with a phone and my laptop. And I literally would just try to listen to every single phone call. And I would take notes. How did he talk to him? What did he talk to him about? How do I learn the product? I didn't know accounting, so I legit became QuickBooks certified accountant online. I signed up for the classes to become a QuickBooks certified online accountant because I knew I didn't have time. I literally, time was against me, right? I worked with him for 3 months and he passed away out of nowhere. Uh, Mind you, I know I say he was 80 years old, but this was an 80-year-old man that got up every morning, did his inversion table, did sit-ups on his inversion table, would swim laps in his pool. He had a rower, right? And like legitimately, we would get Whitney would get text from him. I just killed my goal. I did 160 in however many minutes. Whitney, because Whitney was a personal trainer at the time before I dragged her in. She was a personal trainer doing her own thing. She built her own business. She was killing it. And so like that was like his proud moment to her, right? Like, look how many I did on the road. Like this was an 80-year-old man. So it hit us by surprise. Like I was expecting to have a mentor for another 10 years, honestly, a minimum of 5, right? And that's when like, man, reality sank in. I don't know anything. How do we buy this business? And how do we move forward, right? And literally the world got dumped on me. Grandma is still alive. She's still alive today. She's fantastic. Uh, Grandma's still alive and who just lost her husband after 50 years. I can't imagine losing Whitney right now. Uh, the family, he was like the glue of the family, right? Like Whitney was adopted. You can imagine why. There was some obviously family drama and issues and things that they dealt through themselves through the years that made their we say that her family is more like a grapevine instead of a grape tree. Just kind of goes adoption and other things. And um he was so much to so many people. I can't tell you when he passed, like how many people will come up to me and be like, that dude changed my life. Like I owe my life to that dude. And just reassured me how great he was. And I already knew how great he was, but I didn't realize how many people he impacted everywhere. It was pretty amazing. So um, that is when the journey of business slapped me in the face.
It's it's amazing, man, because it's almost like you're meant to be there too. And just listening to the story and kind of going full circle with you too, just what the things you talked about, like how you always wanted to have your number one goal was to have a business where you could build a culture of employees that were taken care of, that were built up and could support themselves and have good lives too with you. And that's just shows who you are as a person. Because you weren't going into business to make all the money. You had that opportunity to make all the money doing working for Rolls and Bentley, and you chose to go a different direction to help people too. And I think reflecting back on that moment to your father-in-law, is when he asked you to be the GM and you kind of stood up to yourself and said, no, that's not what I want to do. Like I want to own a business. Like when you stood up to a person like that, how you've explained him to me, that's an entrepreneur guy, had his hand in a lot of different things. And I think that was the time where he probably most respected you too, as a
Oh,
man, and said, he was probably like, whoa, like this guy's the real deal. And he was probably proud of you for that moment
yeah.
too. He might not have said it because,
Yeah.
I mean, my dad,
Those old school dudes don't say
yeah, no, not
it.
at all. I've grown up with my dad, not really. I mean, with age now that my dad's getting older, it's slipped a few times where I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, what was that? What
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that? You
Can you
know,
say it
like,
louder for
hang
the
on, I
people in the
haven't heard
back?
that ever, you know? But I relate to you a lot, man, just because like the desk thing you talked about, like how he had the mahogany desk, and my dad the same thing. When I first started with my dad, I was in his office next to him, and I had this cheap little shitty little kind of card table looking. It was so flimsy. Had one little drawer where I can store some files with that I'd take notes for the people that I was dealing with for sales and stuff, but I always was next to him and I listened, and I heard how he talked to people and subcontractors and how he dealt with them, and that made me kind of I always say my brother and I are good cop, bad cop. My brother's a good guy. I'm the bad guy because I'm the one that has to always deal with like telling the subcontractors and everybody, like keeping everybody in line. But it was those moments too, man, that you kind of reflect back on too. But I can tell with like the whole thing, like he's proud of you, man. Like, because
Thank
that moment that you took to say, no, I don't want to be a GM. I want to run this thing.
you.
Like, like, and now look at you too. And to wrap this up, because of time, man, because you and I can go on for like 3 hours here, and you're definitely coming on again because I got more questions on other
Sure.
topics for you too. But I wanted to wrap this up because you and I have talked a lot, and a lot of times you've told me about the business journey, and you've had a lot of ups in it. You've had a lot of like roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster ride. That's business. I mean, I deal with it. You deal with it too. Um, you're new to your faith, right? And I wanna ask you, how is your faith kind of, what does it mean to you? How has it helped you on this journey of business, like being new to it and everything too? Just to kind of close out with that because I think it's such a huge topic.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask about you working with your wife too, but that'll be on the next one. We'll
it'll
make
be
a
on
whole
the next one.
podcast about
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
because you and
You
I
might want to
relate.
block out 2 hours for that one.
Yeah, yeah, you and I relate a lot on that one. So stay tuned for that one, guys. But I want to end with that because it's a question because of what you've gone through, the roller coasters, and I think Bob passed away in 2019 is when you basically took over the company, and or you and Whitney did, and
Yeah.
just you've talked to me about a lot of the kind of down times you've had, but the up times, there's been a lot of those. So talk about your faith with that and how that's gotten you through things.
Yeah, what's amazing, it almost goes right back to where we started this conversation, which is kind of ironic, but it's given me a peace.
Mm,
Like when I look for that peace, man, I've suffered from mental stuff my whole life, depression, anxiety, like bad, like crippling. Been on and off medications. Uh, Faith has given me a peace that I've never had before. Uh, I can't explain it, and I don't think that it needs to be explained. What I've learned on this journey that I'm on right now, learning about it and being in Warriors for Christ and meeting people like yourself and other Christians is like there are some things that like we don't obviously we don't have the answers to, right? And I don't know that we are supposed to know the answers to. Um, but the internal peace, the yin and the yang, and the up and the down, and when things do come full circle, just like this interview, just like how I met you, just like how I met my wife, all of the little lessons that happened. Bob passing away could be a negative thing, right? Like it is a negative thing. I love the man to death. If he wouldn't have passed away and Whitney and I didn't buy the company and change the way that things were running just from the financial situation that we discovered after he passed, and me being thrown in the fire, I don't know that the company would be here today, to be honest.
mm,
So trying to find those blessings in those hard times,
yeah.
it's also helped me do that. Whitney is a master at that. Like she can find the good. She is my savior. I cannot say that enough. She can find the good in anything. I don't know how she does it. I tell her all the time, you are gifted. My mind just goes the other way. It goes to that negative side. So it has been reprogramming myself, that to have that faith, to be positive, to find the good and the good side of the bad. And it's been a journey. It's been a, up and down, right? Like I didn't want to be those guys that like uh all of a sudden now everything's good, like you found God, now everything's fine, like you don't have any issue. Like no, it's not real.
Mm,
I have to constantly tell myself that. I have to constantly work at it. We talk about it in Warriors for Christ, like it's like working your brain in math, right? If you don't do math equations all the time, you go to do your first math equations, you're going to really bomb that test.
mhm,
If you don't work out at the gym and you go run 3 miles the next day, you're going to be hurting really bad, right? And faith, I've learned that faith is the same way. If you're not, exercising that muscle in faith, you'll lose it, and you will lose the belief. You will lose the peace. For me, to be honest, it has given me a peace that I've never had before.
Love it, man. Yeah. I relate to you in a lot of ways in that aspect too. And it's something that it's never ending learning
Yeah,
experience. It's, yeah. Cause I mean,
it's a lot.
it
It's a lot,
is.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
It I mean, we're doing Genesis right now, right? And
Yeah.
one of our brothers texted me today, and I was like, man, I felt defeated, to be honest. Like, I read it. That is not, after listening to the other guys talk, I'm like, I need to read this with somebody that's educated, because
Yeah.
I did not get what they got. I wish I did. I wish I was there. But that's exercising. That's doing the work to learn it, and to talk to people like yourself. Surround yourself with good people, and it'll come. Yeah, and it'll just it's like compounding, right? It'll just reaffirm that you are in the right seat at the right time with the right people, learning the right things, doing the right things, and then you'll get knocked down. And then you'll doubt. And then you just got to climb it again, and then you'll knock down. But if you continue to climb 5 and fall 3, and continue to climb 5 and fall 3, you're still climbing up.
Sounds like life, man. Exactly what you said. Fatherhood, being a
Oh
dad,
my.
being a husband, being like all these things, you're climbing, you're learning, you're trying to get better at it. And it's just anybody like my wife and I were talking about this today too, is like anybody that tells you, like how it's going to be having a kid. It's just like, no, no, like nobody could explain it, man. And
No,
it's
no.
the best, most gratifying experience, but it's one of the hardest things too.
But it's also horrible.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, let's say
So,
it what it is.
yeah.
My son just started high school. Like, what? You are kidding me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's also the best and the worst, because man, there are some nights that man, I've literally told my son, buddy, I screwed up. Like, just like I called that guy, the HVAC dude,
Mhm.
and said, I screwed up. I talked to you in a way that I didn't want to talk to you. I don't want to be perceived that way. I've literally had this conversation many times with my son and said, buddy, I screwed up. Whether I raise my voice, and I'm not a yeller to my kids, I never have been. I've raised my voice to be stern, but like, I've screwed up. I've said some things to them that I shouldn't have said. I'm learning. And I've literally told him, like, buddy, I haven't been a father before. You don't have a playbook. Like, let alone, I didn't really have a great person to look up to become a father. I said, you got to give me some help here, buddy. We are on the same team. I tell them that all the time. We're on the same team. Like, please forgive me if I screw up. Right. So I think I'm very, very transparent with my kids. Very transparent.
I'm gonna be taking a lot of pointers from you, man, because you got some good kids. So
Uh,
I'll be calling you for many
yeah.
pointers down the road with my son, being like, "Hey, man, how'd you deal with
Don't
this one?"
do this.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't do this. But it
Yeah.
goes back to what we talked about. It's great having people in your corner, like yourself, and just like knowing that you can go to somebody, you can have some answers, like, just
Not
because
alone.
we don't know, man. And that's the thing, even with the Bible study thing, like I got a text today about it too, and I said it was great. You know why it was great? Because I don't understand a lot of it. I went to Christian school, man. I still don't understand a lot of it. Like, I was a
Yeah.
renegade when I left Christian school, but like it was like I still like I know the stories, stuff like that, but like, hearing people talk more into detail about it, I'm like, whoa, I don't know half this stuff. Like, and we might not, reading
Yeah.
it, we might not, but just to have those people be able to kind of relay it was awesome. It was awesome. And
Just having those people to be able to text you to say,
yeah,
what did you think is a
yeah,
big deal?
exactly.
An entrepreneur, I don't know about you, my friend circle is very small around
Oh,
where I
mine
live.
too.
Yeah, we don't have time. Yeah. Again, we could. keep talking.
Until next episode, though, yeah, because
Episode 7.
yeah, you're coming back on. Yeah, I'm gonna have you as a multi guest because yeah, I want to get into there's a lot I want to get into that we didn't touch on today, but there was a lot of great things covered today too, man. So I really do appreciate you, brother. Where can people connect with you? I know you're not big with social media right now, but I know you got a Facebook still, so
I
I
do
know
have a
that's still
Facebook. I use that for marketplace because I love cars and
yeah.
I'm always looking for old Volkswagens.
There you go.
I got a soft spot for old Volkswagens. You can't find me on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. Yeah.
You can
Uh
find a website too. You can find you on your
yeah,
website and
innovative
all.
energy. I'm if you look me up, you'll find me.
Awesome. Awesome. No, brother, I appreciate you today. This was awesome. It was a great conversation. Like I said, we're gonna have another one too, and another for sure. But now, man, I respect you a lot. Appreciate everything you're doing. I see all the amazing things you're doing too. Keep it up. You're one of the best dudes I know out there. So I got a lot of respect for you. So thank
I
you.
appreciate you, Bill. I appreciate you having me here. I can't wait till the next one. And I can't wait to see you continue to kill it. Like what you've done in 5 years. I know we don't celebrate together.
We need to
Um,
celebrate more.
we need that because you're killing it, man. I hope you see that in your family, in your faith, in your own marriage. Life is not easy, and it shouldn't be easy for what we want to achieve, but you are achieving it. So I hope you see that too.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. It's like we said, you just got to sometimes take the time and talk to people you know and you're friends with and close with,
Yeah.
and just pause
Yeah.
for a moment because it's like
Yeah,
we're
I
like
don't get
go go
jealous
go.
of many people. I don't get jealous of people. I see what you're doing, and jealousy sinks in. I'm like, dang, that stuff is amazing, bro. What you do. I mean, what you do is amazing. The work, your work, let alone. I already know what type of father you want to be. I already know what kind of husband you are. Uh, I we're in the circles together. Some of the
Yeah.
circles together. And I see what you're doing on that work side, man. I'm like, dude, I am jealous of that stuff. I love the stuff that you do. So keep it up, man. I
Yeah,
love
you
watching.
just got to come down more and see
Yeah.
see it more.
I need to
So
have you build me a house. That's what I need to do.
future for sure, brother, for
Goals,
sure.
goals.
For sure. But anyways, guys, thank you all for listening so much. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And please like, share, comment, subscribe. Please share it with friends and family. Goes a long way. This one needs to be shared. 5-star reviews go a long way. We appreciate you, and we will see you guys on the next episode.